Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into the Systems Communication Protection domain of CMMC Level 2, focusing on NIST 800-171 controls 3.13.1 through 3.13.16. To make these technical control requirements easier to understand, we'll follow the story of Sam. Sam's your everyday CUI system user and her manager, Malone. Today, we'll see how these rules apply to day-to-day operations and what users and managers must know to keep controlled, unclassified information safe. Let's meet our story's heroes, Sam and Malone. Sam handles controlled unclassified information, or CUI, daily in her job. Malone supervises Sam and the IT team and ensures that everyone follows security procedures. For every NIST 800-171 requirement, we'll see how it affects Sam and what Malone should enforce and practical steps for compliance. What is the Systems Communication Protection domain, or SC domain? Well, it's about protecting CUI as it's transmitted or shared within and outside your network. Essentially focuses on monitoring, controlling, and safeguarding digital communications. And this applies to anyone using or managing CUI systems. What we'll take a look at here is system communication, what it means, why the boundaries are so important, the role of encryption, traffic control, and monitoring. Before we follow Sam and Malone, let's define the SC domain. It's all about securing your information as it moves. And we're talking about moving between users, between systems, and across networks. If these rules seem technical, don't worry, we'll walk through real-world examples with Sam's help. System Communication Protection Requirement 3.1 requires us to defend our boundaries. This means protecting all system boundaries. We need to monitor, control, and protect communications at those boundaries. So what does this mean? Well, first off, we need to define and understand what are the external and internal system boundaries. Once we do that, we need to monitor and control communications at these points. And this means protecting CUI always at these boundary points. How do we do that? Well, some methods would be to employ firewalls, intrusion detection software or hardware, and watching for unusual activity. In our case with Sam, she tries to send CUI to a contractor. That's obviously outside of the system boundary. Malone ensures it passes through a firewall and is protected and monitored to detect any threats. Think of boundaries as your facility's walls and doors. Who can enter, who can leave, and how do you stop intruders? Systems have virtual boundaries, like firewalls, to protect communications. Malone's team sets up alerts and controls. Sam knows not to bypass these alerts and controls for her convenience. SC Control 3.13.2 requires us to identify and employ secure architecture, software, and system design, particularly for any coding or testing functions. This means strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and role-based access for any of these coding or testing functions. For example, when the team builds a new web app, Malone ensures secure coding, regular testing, and access controls are in place. Malone partners with IT to insist on software that's secure from the start. Sam, as a CUI systems user, uses strong passwords and follows every security prompt. Products and systems with poor design are easier to hack, so don't take shortcuts. SC Control 3.13.3 is about keeping user and admin roles separate. Separate what users can do from what admins can do. So we need to understand what those separate tasks are. For instance, Sam should not install software or access system settings. Admin tasks are reserved for IT staff. In our example, Sam can access project files, but she can't change server settings. So Malone, her boss, checks access logs regularly. Remember that mixing roles is risky. Sam's account shouldn't have admin rights. That's reserved for specific admin staff. This minimizes accidental or malicious errors. Malone audits accounts to ensure least privilege is maintained. Control 3.13.4 requires us to prevent unintended data leaks. No sneaky transfers of data. Stop information from leaking by shared system resources. In our example, Sam uses a shared printer. Malone ensures that only authorized users have access and clears printer memory regularly. Sometimes data leaks by hidden channels, like a shared printer, clipboard, or misconfigured shared drive. Malone sets the policies. Sam follows the guidelines using only approved resources for CUI. Separation of public and private networks. Control 3.13.5 requires us to keep publicly accessible systems, like company websites, isolated from internal networks. First off, we need to identify and then separate public components with both physical and logical controls. Let's say Sam updates a website hosted on a DMZ or demilitarized zone. Malone ensures that that's physically separate from the CUI internal network. Systems everyone can access, like your website, should never be on the same network as CUI or critical company data. If hackers get into the public space, they should not be able to get to Sam's files. Deny by default. Control 3.13.6 is about blocking traffic first and then approving by exception. Essentially, deny all traffic by default to and from outside addresses, and permit by documented exception. This is called whitelisting. In contrast, blacklisting would be to allow all traffic except for those on the blacklist, which would then be denied. This is not nearly as secure as whitelisting. And any exceptions should go through the formal change approval process, and these exceptions may be added to the whitelist after change approval. Let's look at Sam's example with her story. Sam's team requests a new tool online. Malone reviews it, approves it, and IT opens the necessary port for this tool. Allowing everything is dangerous. Malone blocks all by default, only opening up for business critical exceptions. Sam knows not to try to bypass blocked sites or tools. No split tunneling. Control 3.13.7 requires us to prevent split tunnel connections. What is split tunneling? It's a VPN feature that allows you to divide your internet travel. This enables you to send some of your traffic or your data through an encrypted VPN tunnel for enhanced security, while allowing the rest to travel directly over the open internet. This can become dangerous, so this control requires us to stop remote devices from dual network access and permit or prevent remote devices from connecting corporate and external networks at once. This reduces our risk greatly. We do this through VPN or SC protection policies. And we need to understand why split tunneling is risky. This introduces big risk for malware. Let's look at Sam's example. She works from home by VPN. Malone disables split tunneling as stated in this System Communication Protection policy so that Sam's machine can only access company resources, not accessing the internet while connected. If Sam's remote device connects to both corporate VPN and public internet, malware could jump between. Malone's team ensures VPN is exclusive for CUI work only. .13.8 is about encrypting CUI on the move. Anytime a transmission is involving CUI, it must be encrypted primarily or an alternative safeguard. This involves secure email, HTTPS, or VPN, or a secure file transfer protocol. In our example, Sam sends CUI files to a subcontractor. Malone ensures the transfer uses Secure File Transfer Protocol, or SFTP, or a Secure Shell Transfer, SSH, with strong encryption. Unencrypted data can be intercepted. That's what makes it so vulnerable. Malone enforces encryption rules. Sam uses approved tools and reports anything suspicious. Session timeouts. Control 3.13.9. So we're logged in at the workstation that handles CUI. This control requires us to auto-terminate those sessions after a period of inactivity or at the close of a day. To implement this control, we must first define that period of inactivity, say 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. Then we set the technical control to auto log out after that period of time and at the end of the day. Let's say Sam leaves her desk. After 15 minutes of inactivity, her session logs out automatically due to Malone's policy. This is important because unintended sessions are risky. Session timeouts ensure that even when Sam forgets, security kicks in. Managing encryption keys, requirement 3.13.10. This is all about keeping cryptographic keys secure. That means establishing and managing those cryptographic keys properly with key creation, distribution, and secure management processes. For us as CUI system users, that means do not share or mishandle encryption keys and always use the company processes to do this. For example, Malone ensures that IT uses secure key vaults and that keys are periodically rotated. Sam has no direct access to keys. Strong cryptographic keys are vital, but only if managed securely. Keys decrypt sensitive data for us, but should be managed with care and within your secure enclave with very limited access. Let's dive in a bit more into 3.13.10, establish and manage cryptographic keys. Keys are created whenever cryptography is used. That's usually when data is in transit or in storage. Keys are actively managed to prevent misuse. Let's say Sam emails a CUI document. Malone reminds her, is the email encrypted? Sam checks, and yes, the keys used to encrypt the message are generated and managed by IT, or say by your Microsoft Secure Enclave. When encryption is used, the system creates special keys. It's like making a secret code, but those keys need to be protected. If keys are lost or stolen, someone could unlock sensitive information. Key management includes proper storage, rotation of the keys, and safe disposal. Let's look at key takeaways for cryptographic keys. Never share encryption keys or passwords. Always use approved methods for sending CUI, that's typically within your CUI system, and report any suspicious activity with keys or with codes. So we need to ask ourselves, how do we know when a document is encrypted? Who manages your organization's keys? And what would you do if a key or password was exposed? For users like Sam, it's crucial never to bypass approved methods. For Malone, her boss, he must ensure that processes for key updates and emergency responses are in place. Control 3.13.11 requires us to employ FIPS-validated cryptography. What does this mean? Well, FIPS is the Federal Information Processing Standards, FIPS. What this does is ensure strong encryption. All cryptography protecting CUI must be FIPS validated. Let's look at Malone here. He reviews the settings of the cloud storage and notices that some options say FIPS 140-2 compliant. He asks IT if non-FIPS methods are in use. Sam learns that only storage using FIPS validated encryption is allowed for CUI, and that's soon to change to FIPS 140-3. FIPS validated cryptography is tested and approved by the government. If a tool is not FIPS compliant, it can't be used for CUI. Simple rule here is if you don't know if it's approved, ask before using. So common FIPS compliant tools include BitLocker and some VPNs. As system users, we need to know who to ask about approved software and understand what are the consequences of using non-FIPS encryption. Well, CUI and storage would be at risk without this level of encryption. Best practices here is to empower users to check or ask about compliance. Managers like Malone should maintain an approved list, tools list, and also train users like Sam to recognize FIPS compliant choices. Control 3.13.12 requires that collaborative devices like cameras, mics, and smartboards must not be activated remotely. This introduces risk, and also that users in the room must be able to see when a device is on. It's typically a red light, something like that. Let's say during a meeting with a whiteboard camera, Sam notices a red light indicating recording. Malone verifies with IT that all such devices cannot be remotely turned on. Someone must be present. In short, we must be able to identify collaborative devices in the workspace. This includes interactive whiteboards beyond, say, just basic smartboards, tools like Microsoft Surface. It also includes wireless presentation systems. These are devices that multiple users share screens to a central display without cables or setup delays. And digital kiosks also fall within this collaborative device category. And touch panels. Say if you have a booking system or you have touch panels for booking rooms, that's a collaborative device. These collaborative devices also include virtual reality and augmented reality. Sometimes they're used for training. And then even smart lighting and environmental controls can fall within this. These are wireless charging stations and shared docking hubs as well. Recognizing these collaborative devices and whether they're in use becomes important. Dangers of remote access open up a big risk here. There should be no surprise recordings, basically. Devices must indicate when they're live, and IT must prevent remote activation so that Sam always knows if she's on camera or not. Okay, for key takeaways here, never use unauthorized meeting devices for CUI. These are collaborative devices. Always check for the in-use lights or messages. And of course, as a CUI system user, always report if something activates unexpectedly. Questions for users and managers would include, can you identify all the collaborative devices in your area? And what should you do if a device is active but no one is using it? Awareness training is key here. Malone should ensure everyone knows how to spot in-use alerts, and Sam should never assume a device is off. Always check. Control 3.13.13 requires us to control and monitor mobile code. What is mobile code? These would be scripts that run automatically. That includes programs like Java or Flash or some plugins, and even some things that run in your browser or your email. These must be controlled and watched. Sam receives an email with a link to an interactive training. She asked Malone about it, and Malone asked IT if the tool's code is safe and authorized before Sam clicks. Mobile code can sneak malware or steal CUI. Only launch approved scripts and plugins. Users should never click unknown code, and IT needs to monitor what's running. Let's look at training takeaways for safe use of mobile code. We need to know how to spot mobile code in emails and links. These can be part of a phishing scheme. Also, QR codes in emails. These can hide malicious URLs. Be very careful of them. If you scan one, preview the link before opening it. Many phones will show the URL. Check for that odd domain or misspellings in the URL, something you don't expect there. Also be on the lookout for shortened URLs. This would include URLs from bit.ly or tinyURL. These can mask the true destination. In this case, we can use a URL expander tool or simply hover over the link on the desktop anyway to see where it leads. And if you see suspicious link text, if the text says one thing but the actual link when hovered over is different, well, that's a red flag. How about the sender's email address? Look very closely at that. Phishing emails often use addresses that mimic real ones, like support@PayPay1 instead of PayPal. Also, generic greetings can be a red flag. Dear customer, instead of your name, can signal a mass phishing attempt. And of course, always look for spelling or grammar errors. These are often signs of hastily crafted scams. Never install or run unapproved browser extensions or scripts. And of course, report any suspicious pop-ups or downloads. So we need to know, can you recognize a mobile code warning from your browser or system? Who approves the browser plugins in your organization? And training for us saves time and incidents. Malone, as a manager, needs a process for reviewing and approving mobile code, and Sam needs to know the red flags. Tools that can help here include Microsoft Defender Office 365, which can detect QR code-based phishing attacks and flag suspicious links embedded in emails. Also, browser extensions like URL unshorteners or link checkers can preview where a link goes before you click. Control 3.13.14 requires us to control and manage it VoIP or VoIP. What is VoIP? This is Voice over Internet Protocol. These are phone calls that use the internet. And they must be controlled and usage monitored. In our story, Sam uses MS Teams for a client call about CUI. Malone, her boss, confirms that Teams is on the approved list and that admin logs are monitored for misuse. Keep in mind that not all internet calls are secure. In fact, this becomes a very big vulnerability. Only sanctioned services can be used, and communications may be monitored for compliance. Are Microsoft Teams okay for transmitting CUI? Short answer is yes. Microsoft Teams within Microsoft 365 GCC High or a DoD suitable enclave is suitable for transmitting CUI and can support CMMC Level 2 compliance. So Microsoft 365 GCC High, these environments must meet and do meet FedRAMP standards and are designed to handle CUI and ITAR data. Proper configuration ensures that all communications, including chat, voice, video files, are encrypted in transit and at rest, and multi-factor authentication is enforced. That helps here as well. And audit logs and access controls are in place. Teams is used only within the secure enclave to be secure for this. No crossover to commercial Office 365 or personal devices is allowed. Let's look at key takeaways for Voice over Internet Protocol and the security. Remember to use only listed approved apps for work calls. Your IT administrator checks that your business Voice over Internet service follows security mechanisms, and never ever talk about CUI over personal or unapproved apps. And recognize signs of a compromised line. Questions for users and managers would include which VoIP services or apps are allowed in your organization. Maybe you have AT&T or Verizon for business. Be very sure about that. Make sure that that does have the security mechanisms in place for CMMC Level 2. How is VoIP activity monitored? This is very important and part of this requirement. The risk here is that leaked conversations or unauthorized recordings could get into the wrong hands. Clear communication keeps everyone on the same page, so Malone should make the approved list clear. Control 3.13.15 requires us to protect the authenticity of communication sessions. What is authenticity in communications? Well, authenticity is about verifying the identity of, say, you as a user or your device or your system that you're coming in from. Why does authenticity matter? Well, if we don't have an authenticity process in place, we are very open to spoofing or phishing attacks. How do we keep these sessions authentic? Make sure that only the identified and approved people, devices, or systems are getting access. And how do you know if you're even connected to the right person or site? Well, our system checks will allow for multi-factor authentication, and that allows us to double check a person's or a system's identity. In our story, Sam wants to send a CUI document to her teammate, but how does she know the person she's communicating with is really her teammate and not an impersonator? Well, she must rely on the secure system protocols within our IT system. Requirement 3.13.15a requires us to have authenticity protection in place. Well, how do we know this is in place? This control requires the use of secure protocols and training. This includes verified logins, like multi-factor authentication and unique passwords, the use of secure tools, like VPN or HTTPS or secure email. And as a system user, we should be able to spot suspicious communications like unexpected requests or strange links. Would you be able to spot a phishing link? Let's look at Sam's company. They use a secure email and two-factor authentication. The policies for her company and processes are understood and are well in place and trained. This means that only real users get to send or receive CUI. Malone checks that everyone logs in securely using multi-factor authentication and never sending CUI to anyone, any unknown recipients, even if they look familiar. Control 3.13.16 requires us to protect confidentiality of CUI at rest. What is CUI at rest? At rest means it's stored. not actively being sent or processed by you. Think about files on a laptop, backup disk, or cloud servers. These are all storage state. CUI isn't just at risk when you send it, it's at risk when it's saved on a drive, a server, or a USB stick. Questions to ask is, where does your team store CUI files? Is it secure? And to understand the physical versus digital storage protections in place. Control 3.13.16a, the assessment objective, requires us to ensure and check if CUI is actually protected at rest. This is all about encryption, access controls, and secure storage. This includes whole device encryption, strong passwords, and locked physical storage. Do we know what to do if a laptop with CUI gets lost? For example, Sam stores CUI on her work laptop, and that laptop uses full disk encryption. So even if stolen, the files stay unreadable without the right password. Her boss Malone ensures that backup drives and file shares are also encrypted, and access is limited to only those who need it. Let's do a quick review. How do we store CUI safely? Well, Sam's team is told never save CUI on unapproved devices like home computers, and always use company-approved encrypted storage and lock laptops when away. And of course, avoid printing CUI unless it's absolutely necessary. Malone has a checklist for regular reviews. This assures that encryption and strong access controls remain in place. So in our story, Sam's coworker leaves her encrypted laptop at a coffee shop and reports it immediately. Malone works with IT to remotely wipe the device. Because of encryption and good access control, whoever finds the device is unlikely to be able to log in and see sensitive information. It sure helps to have lots of layers of controls. What's your company's lost device procedure? Make sure you know that. We'll pause here for any questions, and if you'd like, you can email me at the 2 email addresses below. Thank you.